Hey guys, welcome back. Today's foundation road test is going to be looking at Urban Decay Naked Skin One and Done Hybrid Skin Perfector. And I've actually had this for a little bit, but I've never really looked at whether it performs better with or without a primer and whether it does better with a sponge, a brush, or with my fingers. I know it comes with, or it's suggested to use their brush with it, but you know, I use my own foundation brushes and I've just never really looked at which works best. So we're gonna do that today. And I'm just gonna read you a little bit about it, what they say it does. It is supposed to instantly blur imperfections and even out skin tones so that you achieve gorgeous skin that appears effortlessly perfected. You will reap the benefits of skin treatment and SPF 20 protection with the coverage of a sheer foundation. There's no need for foundation. One step and you're done. This innovative, lightweight formula provides more coverage, hydration, and optical blurring than a BB or a CC cream. It transforms the look of your skin with light diffusing spheres so that flaws seem to disappear. Over time, pores appear smaller and skin looks noticeably firmer and more radiant. There are 6 shades. I am in shade medium light. Can you see that? So not a huge shade range. It is probably one of those that just kind of melds in with your skin. I do have it on now already, and you can see it does pretty well for my skin, I think, as far as a match goes. I love the bottle. I absolutely love it. I love that it has a pump, and I love that it is so lightweight and it is just perfect for travel, to throw it in a bag. Love it. It is $34, I think, $34 for 1.3 ounces of product. So it's not a bad price for a non-drugstore foundation. And we will see how it performs and how it applies. Today is primer day, and as usual I am using my Hourglass Mineral Veil primer, and as usual beauty blender side and foundation brush side. And let's get to the application.
Well, I was given this lovely gift from a mask I tried out that aggravated my rosacea, so we're just going to have to deal with that today. For those of you who don't know, I have sensitive, oily combination skin, and of course I am concerned with aging. And I'm just taking a couple of pumps of this foundation so that I can have enough to use with both the sponge and the brush. And it is a little bit liquidy. You can see it dripping down my hand there. I'm taking my dampened beauty blender and dipping it in and spreading it all over the face. It looked a little bit light at first, but it spread pretty nicely and blended into the skin pretty well, and seemed to just kind of meld into the skin and look pretty nice with my skin tone. And I'm trying to cover any redness on my face. Since it is a sheer foundation, I'm not expecting it to cover every single thing on my face. You know, I have some sunspots on my nose, and of course I have that nice, lovely spot on my cheek. It's not covering. I don't expect it to, but I'm going to try and layer it and see if it does anything at all. And it looks like, yeah, I'm going to need concealer for that. But the redness on the Beauty Blender side is pretty covered. So I'll move on to the brush and get some foundation on it and just start working on that side. Just so you guys know, I did streamline this video a little bit and leave out my application of my Hourglass Mineral Veil primer. I do apply a pea-size amount first on my primer days. I just thought, you know, it's kind of redundant for me to show that before every application on primer day. So you can see that in my previous foundation videos, but I did leave it out of this one and may leave it out from now on unless you guys object.
Okay, just upon looking straight on and in the monitor, I feel like the sponge side covered redness better than the brush side. I mean, you can see here, there's just still some redness left, and there's not as much on the sponge side. Also, and I don't know if this is gonna be picked up on camera or not, but I feel like by my nose is covered a little bit better on the Beauty Blender side than it is on the sponge side. I'm gonna try and zoom in on my forehead, which is great, but on the Beauty Blender side here, it looks pretty smooth. On the sponge side, you can see some little flaky spots. I don't know, that it kind of picked up with the brush. This is interesting to me because you would kind of think with a one and done type foundation, using a brush would be the easiest and quickest way just to get it on, but the sponge seems like the way to go with a primer anyway. So I'm gonna put on the rest of my makeup and I will be back. Okay, I'm back. My makeup is done and I think it looks good as far as a natural looking foundation goes. I still like the Beauty Blender side better upon initial application, even after my makeup is completely done. There's some kind of weird stuff going on with my pores over here. I don't know if you can see it. And I don't think I've ever noticed my pores on my forehead. So I don't know, I'm kind of iffy on that. So we'll see how this holds up today with my Hourglass primer, and I'll check in a little later and then I'll do my nightly check-in this evening. I'll see you guys later. Well, this check-in is being filmed from my room, which is kind of unusual. Usually I'm doing these check-ins from my car, but I've had a really full and busy day and I just didn't have time to stop and film, even though I was keeping track of how things were going as the day went on. So it's been 7.5 hours and so far so good. It has been wearing really well. I have blotted twice today and I touched up with translucent powder one of those times. So for a light sheer coverage foundation, that's pretty good. And it's so funny to me that I have this nice monster on my face when I'm choosing to try out a sheer-ish foundation. I feel like there's still some pore issues that I have over here that are not going on over here. And I don't know, I feel like the brush side may be settling into some fine lines that the sponge side isn't. I feel like the nose, there's some redness around my nose on both sides, but I feel like it's more so on the brush side. So I will check in at the end of the day. I'll see you guys in a little while. I thought it looked pretty good for 12.5 hours later until I sat down in front of the camera in front of the bathroom lights. So this is kind of my lighting situation at night right now. Unfortunately, I think in regular lighting it's passable. I think the max wear that I would get out of it looking really good for a sheer foundation is about 10 hours. But for 12.5 hours, you know, I think it's looking pretty good. It didn't really start to show a lot of wear until after the 10-hour mark. And it's almost completely gone from the brush side at my nose, and it is starting to show wear on the sponge side. This sucker's staying around great. And I don't know, you can kind of see the pore issues on my forehead maybe better in this lighting. And you can see that reaction from that mask there too. And I just don't see it as much on the sponge side. So maybe I'll see something differently when I look back at this, but this is the end of primer day and I'm fairly happy with a sheer-ish foundation, especially considering I really only touched up 2 or 3 times out of the whole entire 12.5 hours. And I am not an oil slick, so that was a nice surprise for me today. So that's it for today, and I will see you guys on the non-primer day.
Hey guys, my day 2 no primer update is going to be very, very quick. I was initially pretty impressed by the way One and Done went on with the brush and the sponge this morning. It just glided on very effortlessly, very seamlessly, and I just loved it. And it looked really good this morning on both sides. But as the day has gone on and I've had to blot 4 times and touch up each time because of shine, not really super greasy looking shine, but just excessive shine. It's been 7.5 hours, a little bit over 7.5 hours. And I've just constantly had shine going on today, not liking it without a primer. So I already know 7.5, almost 8 hours later, that a primer is the way to go with one and done foundation or hybrid skin perfector, whatever it's called. I can see where it has removed some of the foundation from my face when I tried to blot from my nose and chin and around the sides of my nose and from right here on my forehead. So not going really well today without a primer. I'll do an end of the day check-in. I'll see you guys later.
Hey guys, it is the end of foundation road test check-in and the end of day 2, which is no primer day. And it has been about 10.5 hours since I first applied the foundation. And I'm just going to state right off the bat, make this really short and to the point. I personally need to wear this with a primer. It needed to be blotted quite often today, and it felt sticky to me, and after I blotted towards the end of the day, I could just tell it just completely was gone from certain spots on my face. And it is completely gone from the side of my nose here, and spots on my chin. It's gone from here on my forehead. This is the brush side, by the way. The sponge side is a little bit better. It's not as removed from the forehead, but and it's a little bit better on the side of the nose. But either way, both sides had to be blotted equally, so it didn't discriminate in terms of shininess throughout the day. So my summary is that I think that for a sheer to light/medium coverage foundation that looks nice on the skin, it works well with a primer. I did prefer it with the Beauty Blender. I think almost any skin type could wear it. I think, normal combination oily. I didn't notice it picking up any dry patches, which I seem to have on my forehead for some reason. It may have been that mask that I used, because I hadn't had any before that, but it did pick them up on the brush side. It didn't on the sponge side. So, I can't personally speak for dry skin. I don't have dry skin, but as far as it accentuating dry patches, it didn't do that with a sponge for me. So it did feel good on the skin. It wore well with a sponge. And it looked nice up to about that 10-hour mark. So if you want something that's a little lighter coverage than, say, your full coverage foundations, Estee Lauder Double Wear, Estee Lauder Double Wear Light, that kind of thing. It was a little lighter in coverage too than the CoverGirl Clean Matte BB Cream that I reviewed before too. So it's just a kind of a good skin day foundation, I would say. If you just want to even out some redness, not cover up anything serious, you're still going to need a concealer with it, but it's a nice skin refresher type foundation. So that is my summary, and I hope you enjoyed this foundation road test. I will be doing more. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscriber button. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon.